Okay, so I'll have to present without these slides, but I think it's gonna be okay because a lot of this information that I'm bringing to you, yeah, it's some numbers, but I can share with you and without seeing, and I brought just one graph from a study showing how ketamine is beneficial for treating depression, but I can also describe it, so there's no problem. The title of my presentation is Ketamine, the first legal modern psychedelic treatment. And I start answering the question, yes, it is. The ketamine clinics in the United States are popping up. Every weekend on Instagram, I add like 5 new ketamine clinics, and other clinics are also offering this type of treatment. Usually IV infusions, but also there are other ways, other routes of administration of ketamine. So I think we are in the beginning of the psychedelic clinics, and the ketamine clinics, I really think they are the first one. I'm not going for the slides, but I'm following here my slides, okay? I study in the Netherlands, in the University of Groningen, in the North Netherlands. I'm doing my PhD there. I am a grantee of the Ministry of Education of Brazil. And also I must say that I am working in collaboration with the Federal University of São Paulo. So together with the University of Groningen and the Federal University of São Paulo, we are working on my PhD thesis that will soon be defended, I hope. And to give you an overview about depression and chronic pain, those are going to be my focus when using ketamine for treating medical conditions. Depression is the biggest burden affecting a lot the health, public health and health in general. It's more, it causes more, the impact is already larger than war, malaria, AIDS. So depression there is really an epidemic of depression. In the Netherlands, around more than 500,000 adults pass through one depressive episode per year. And every year, also in the Netherlands, more than 100,000 people experience their first depressive episode. And a lot of those people, they do not respond to the treatments, to the conventional treatments with the SSRIs, the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and also with ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. Several people, more specifically, 1/3 of the patients with depression, they do not respond to the conventional treatments available. So it creates a population of people with treatment-resistant depression, people who are refractory to treatment. When talking, and also if you think about a person, a real depressed person, the worst case scenario is suicide. And ketamine is also beneficial for suicidal ideation. About chronic pain, 1 in 5 Europeans deal with chronic pain, different types of chronic pain. It is around 95 million people in Europe. And there is also a lot of research connecting the development of chronic pain to central sensitization. So it's very nasty because the more pain you feel, your brain, your central nervous system will create more pain. So, for example, if you have a trauma and you feel pain in your arm, the tendency is that this pain, it will increase over time because your brain gets sensitized. This process is called central sensitization. And ketamine has also very beneficial effects in treating these cases of chronic pain. I brought some articles that I cannot show you about central sensitization, so I could explain it better, but it manifests as hyperalgesia and allodynia. Hyperalgesia is when you feel more pain than a regular person. So with, for example, a pinprick, ER threshold is, is lower than with the regular people without chronic pain. And allodynia is when you feel pain with innocuous, with something that doesn't cause pain, like the touch of a brush. So those are ways of measuring chronic pain and to check if ketamine, whether ketamine and other painkillers, they can decrease that. And ketamine has been showing great effects together with other NMDA antagonists. Ketamine works in the glutamate system, and that's why also it's the breakthrough around ketamine, because the other treatments for depression, they focus on the in the monoaminergic system, and ketamine is very unique because, and it's a novelty because it acts in another system, the NMDA receptors, the glutamate system. And also when we talk about having chronic pain, and I'm talking about chronic pain, people dealing with that for decades, okay? Together with the pain, the physical sensation, it comes pain avoidance, pain catastrophizing. They are really felt, it affects the mood. The person starts avoiding situation, activities that can cause pain. So it's very connected. Chronic pain and depression, they are deeply connected. I read a report from a woman with children, and she cannot get out of bed. And she says, yeah, ketamine was the only thing that enabled me to play with my children, because she was suffering so much from pain that she could not function. So those very severe cases are the ones that I'm mentioning right now, okay? So those are the people, the numbers from the Netherlands, here in Europe. Yeah, so the powerful suppressor effect of ketamine in central sensitization. Also here, central sensitization, chronic pain. And this is the cycle of how pain catastrophizing, the pain experience leads to pain catastrophizing and pain avoidance, and the consequent, people will start avoiding things that they usually would do. The prevalence of chronic pain in Europe, in the Netherlands here is highlighted, is between 18 and 25%, which is high. And with a total cost of 300 billion euros annually. And even with all this investment to treat the chronic pain, 38% of the patients, they are not satisfied with the treatment they are getting. So usually they go for rehabilitation, they go for palliative care, and they are not, 38% are not satisfied with the treatment they are getting. So there is a need for other treatment options. Now, this is the graph I mentioned. It's a study with ketamine infusions. This 0.5 milligrams per kilogram is a classic. Over 40 minutes, it already takes a person out of depression. And in cases of suicidal ideation, it's fantastic. Ketamine is unique in taking a person out of suicidal thoughts, something no other drug can do. If we have a suicidal patient in the hospital, we knock the patient down with some tranquilizers, haloperidol, and when the patient wakes up, then we call the psychologist, we call the family, this person cannot be alone, etc. Ketamine can really rewire the brain, and with integration techniques, we are talking a lot, during lunch I was talking a lot about integration. It's not only about administering ketamine, but it is also about working with the subjective aspect of pain, of depression. That's why I put there's a human and mental and physical pains kind of together. It's difficult at some point to make limits. Oh, where is physical only, when is mental only? They are really connected. And here we see that in this experiment specifically, we can see that level of depression decreased after some minutes, and after 7 days, the tendency is to come back. And this is something bad about ketamine treatment, because the patient has to come back for another infusion. It's not a cure. So it's also a point of concern in using ketamine to treat depression and chronic pain and other mental conditions. And another situation that it's not good is the fact that ketamine can create tolerance and addiction. Ketamine was released, so also answering the question that which is the title of the talk. Johnson & Johnson has just released the Spravato, is an intranasal spray of S-ketamine. And if a patient wants to receive this treatment, he or she must go to the physical doctor and have this under monitoring of a healthcare provider, because of this concern surrounding addiction. Ketamine, you also know ketamine by Special K, which is used recreationally, but it's very different when we talk about medical use of a substance, and recreational use is very different, okay? So this is one of the Instagram accounts that I follow. They already performed 3,000 infusions. They are doing that even in the same patient, and they have no cases of severe side effects or addiction, because it's not a self-administration of a drug. The definition of addiction is you have to self-administer the drug. So if you don't have access to the drug supply, so you will not consume it. That's why they are trying to protect it as much as they can. And the interesting thing about Spravato is that it costs between $4,000 and $6,000 per month of treatment, which is something, wow, but not a surprise. It was totally predictable. In my last talk at the Berkeley Convention, people were still having this question, why ketamine is not available? Like, if we have those evidence, why ketamine is not available for people with severe depression, chronic pain, etc.? Because the big pharma could not make a huge profit out of it. They were trying to make something, a new molecule, something different, and they are selling S-ketamine as a different molecule, and it's not. Ketamine exists in two conformations. So I don't know if you guys understand or like chemistry, but ketamine exists in two forms. They are the mirror images of each other. It's called chirality. So there is R-ketamine and S-ketamine. So they are the same molecule, but they are not superposable, but they are the mirror images of each other, R-ketamine and S-ketamine. So they isolated S-ketamine, and they are saying this is a new thing. So we are putting a new patent on it, and we are going to charge $4,000 for 1 month of treatment. The ketamine that we used in the hospital I work, for example, one vial is not even 20 euros. So you have an idea of how, well, yeah, I don't want to say absurd, but well, it's overpriced, right? And the ketamine clinics, they are not cheap, because it's necessary to have the certification. You need the vigilance, the health inspection, and it all costs a lot of money. So for the ketamine clinics, it's between 500 and 1,000 euros per infusion, okay? And there is this thing, when you are suffering, when you are suffering a lot from pain or depression, you would pay anything to get rid of it, right? So it's also kind of, it's an interesting field, because also it gets into this ethical part of the treatment. And, but there is ample evidence. If we talk about the scientific background, we are covered on that. Some people, they say, oh no, there's still not enough evidence. Well, I don't think so. There's loads of papers about ketamine, the side effects of ketamine. The main side effects that ketamine can cause in recreational use, in chronic use of ketamine, is affecting the lower urinary tract system. Some people, they can lose the bladder. They have K cramps, so if they start having abdominal pain, and they start using ketamine to relieve this pain, making the scenario even worse. So, of course, harm reduction, education, information is utterly necessary. Here, what I was telling you about suicidal ideation, ketamine is available in ambulances, emergency departments, because it really works in taking the person out of suicidal thoughts. Also with extensive scientific background. And one also very interesting, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. MDMA has been showing great results with, in treating traumatized patients. And ketamine also has interesting effects in treating PTSD and also OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder. Sorry. Anxiety, I also heard, and yeah. Only when you go to psychosis and this side, ketamine is not good because we use ketamine actually to induce psychosis symptoms in animals in studies. So if the patient is prone to psychosis, then it's better not having ketamine. Here, the Instagram's account that I mentioned, every week there are new ones, and they are always sharing those positive messages, mindfulness. As I said, it's not only about the ketamine, it's also about integration, the mindset. It's a deep work. And as I said also, this year the FDA approved Spravato, Johnson & Johnson's. And I think that some people, I heard that in Europe it's available in a few hospitals, but it's not largely, it's not everywhere. And all this controversy around the price. And another thing that is interesting when we talk about this treatment is the coverage by health insurances. Because ketamine, when we are using ketamine to treat depression and chronic pain, we are using it as an off-label. It's off-label use of a substance, also called the compassionate use. So if nothing is working in this patient, let's use ketamine. It's still not approved, but there is extensive scientific background. So can we please use in those cases? And it's very, very common. It's getting even more common. But the health insurance, they can claim that it's not. It's an investigational drug. It's not officially approved. We are not covering it. But I heard cases in France that the health insurance they refunded the patient because of the compassionate use. So it's something under debate. About the side effects of ketamine, yeah, it can cause insomnia, anxiety, paranoia, and the most famous side effects of ketamine is in the urinary tract. And here we have the ureters, walking stick ureters, meaning that, yeah, a very, very severe damage that might even need to substitute or to recover or to remove the bladder, for example. Okay, this is what I have to tell you, like about ketamine. I had to rush because of the time and the delay. And I'm gonna join the workshop tomorrow because ketamine-assisted therapy is something that is already happening for a lot of years. And it's something that is out there and legally. Okay, so come with your questions if you have them. Thank you.